from Idaho. I strive to provide interesting videos about motorcycles, fabrication, welding, electronics, machining, and general creativity. I hope you enjoy.
Well, hello from Idaho. It's a snowy day here, and so it must be a good day to make a video. My dear wifey got me an Auxbeam 8 position switch assembly, which comes with the remote panel. And the reason this is a big deal is because it makes adding electrical circuits to a vehicle very easy. In the past, that you wanted to, let's say, add driving lights, you'd have to find a source for power underneath the hood, either from the battery or someplace like that. And then you'd have to find a place for a relay, and you'd have to wire those two together. And then you'd have to run wires from the relay up to the driving lights. And then you would also have to run a power wire and another wire into the cab through a grommet and find a place for a switch on the dash. And so then let's say you wanted to add an air horn. Same thing. You'd have to hook to the battery, find a place to mount a relay, run the wires to the air horn, and then run another set of wires into the cab through the grommet into a push button switch. Well, by the time you get to the third thing, you see how inconvenient that was. And so the third time, you want to add fog lights. So you connect to the battery, run a wire, find a place for a relay, run wires from the relay out to the lights, and then run another set of wires into the cab, through the grommet, and to a switch. So by now, you've got 6 wires running into the cab, and you had to find places for a switch. Admittedly, not that big a deal. And you've got 3 relays scattered out through the engine bay, and you've got 3 connections to the battery. So what Auxbeam does is that they put all the relays into a nice single unit, and they're solid state relays. They don't actually have a mechanical flapper. They're MOSFET relays, and you've got 6 fuses, or in this case 8 fuses for 8 circuits. You've got connections for all of those 8 things that will hook there and run out the bottom, and you hook power to the battery one time to this panel, and this one time to ground, and then these 4 connectors here run a wire into the cab, which connects to the control panel. And the control panel has 8 lighted switches, and each one can have an icon on it that tells you what that particular thing does. So driving lights, fog lights, horn, backup lights, camping lights, all the other things that you might want to hook up to a vehicle. And so that makes it really easy. It's small, it's backlit, and so you can see it at night. And you run one little cable through the firewall, and so you don't have a whole myriad of wires running all over the engine bay. You just run this one 4-conductor cable into the firewall, through the firewall, and hook your Auxbeam unit up to it, and now you've got 8 individual circuits. And then there's one more connection. This one actually goes to an ignition source, so that when the ignition key is on, this thing is live, and so it won't draw any current when the vehicle's just setting. So anyway, that's what I'm going to endeavor to put into the Jeep. I think I have a plan, and we'll see how it goes. Okay, it's a cold and rainy winter day, and I'm sitting inside the Jeep, and I've got this Auxbeam control panel that I want to mount. And there's a few obvious locations. It could go here, but I have another thing that's going to sit there, and I probably could figure out a way to mount it down here someplace, but I don't really care for that. And I don't want it up here, but I do think it would fit over here in this corner and not interfere with the defrosters or the air vents. And so the trick is to figure out how to mount it there. So I was thinking about this post here. It has there's a screw behind this plug that holds on the trim piece. And so I think I can make something that will fit the contour of that post, that windshield post, and use that screw. And so along those lines, I got this edge measuring device. It's one of those things that has 100 little different fingers. And so I'm going to press it up against this post right at that screw and get it to conform to that didn't work out. Needs to be farther forward. Okay. And get it to conform to that post. There we go. And so if I can make something that shape, then I should be able to just hold it onto that post with one screw, and these edges, those curved edges, will make sure it doesn't twist. And so the next step is to take this in, lay a ruler across it. Sorry, I'm gesturing with my camera hand. Lay a ruler across it and take a picture, and then I can convert that picture into a DXF file and import that DXF file into Fusion 360, and then I'll be able to create a test piece and print it on my 3D printer. Okay, I'm back in the Jeep. It's a few hours later, and I have this little test piece made. It has ridges on it every 1/8 of an inch, and so if it does need adjustment, I'll mark it and print another piece. One of the best parts about a 3D printer is it is quick to prototype. All the best developers and engineers and scientists and Elon Musk all say, fail quickly, fail cheaply. And what that means is figure out all the important parameters as early and as cheaply as you can. And so by 3D printing up this little bracket prototype to test this edge here, I got 30 minutes of CAD, maybe 15 minutes of CAD, and then I waited for 30 minutes for this to print. So you're going to see if it fits at the same time that I see if it fits. So by golly, that's a win. And so now I can take this shape that I've already got in the CAD system and make something bigger that will make it maybe 2 inches tall, and then I will make it so that it has one screw hole in it, and I'll be able to screw that right to the pillar. And then out here, which I haven't got designed yet, I will figure out what angle I want to mount the Auxbeam controller. So this is the first step.
a little win.
Okay, we're back in the Jeep. I got a little hot coffee. And we're ready for the next step. Okay, the next step is to get some measurements. So I want to measure the angle of the A-pillar, or actually the angle of this bracket when it's attached to the A-pillar. And it looks like it's right around 40 degrees. So we'll write down 40 degrees. The other thing I want to measure is the viewing angle for my switch panel. So we'll put this on there and strike up a good viewing angle. So that looks to be about 60 degrees. So there's 20 degrees difference between the A-pillar and the viewing angle. And then I want to tilt this thing towards me a little bit and kick out the bottom so that it actually points right at my eyes. And I'm going to guess at 10 degrees and 10 degrees. It just comes from experience. After you've reverse engineered enough things, you'll begin to get a feeling for it. And remember, this is 3D printing. I can fail in 2 hours and try it again for nearly no cost. So anyway, that's where we are today. I got those two measurements. I'll go back and put the bolt pattern into a CAD. Design this piece. I'm actually going to use 2 bolts, I think, so I'll make this piece a couple inches long, and then the piece that holds the switch panel will stick out from that. And so back to the CAD system. Okay, it's a few hours later, and now I have a bracket. This is the same contour that I had on my other little test piece. There's 2 holes. This one will use the existing hole, and I'll drill another hole. And then this piece holds my switch panel. So I've got a little hole for the cable that needs to come out the bottom, and it goes right on there like that. So let's see if we can screw it down to the A-pillar and mark where that other hole goes. I needed a way to put this in, so I need a little stubby screwdriver. So I have replaced the screw that came out with one that's about a ½ an inch longer, actually 5/8 of an inch longer, which will compensate for this part that I'm adding. This may be a little bit harder with the switch panel screwed on there, and I do have to screw on the switch panel before I finally mount it. But here's the switch panel. It'll go through there. This will mount to there. Boy, I think that about nails it. Let me get you over here a little bit closer. I'm very happy with that. Ideally, this angle would have been maybe 10 degrees more. And I may print another one, but we'll see. But that's very readable and accessible. Note that it does not cover up my vent, which is down here. It doesn't touch the windshield, so there'll still be airflow for the defrosters. And it just looks like it's part of the Jeep. I'm pretty happy with that. Okay, here's my third and final print of the Auxbeam bracket. It's turned out really well. I went ahead and increased this angle a little bit by 10 degrees, and I hollowed this out a little bit so that it didn't have a tendency to warp. This material is called ASA, and it's really good for high temperatures. It's really good for UV light. It doesn't discolor as bad as some of the other plastics, but it does warp, and so you have to make certain considerations for that. Anyway, here's my Auxbeam thing. Hooked to that, I went ahead and put the letters on for my little company, Simple Creative Solutions. Let's bolt it down. Ah, crap, I dropped one of the screws. I guess that's what I get for trying to do two at once. Alright, let's get this other screw started. I managed to drill this pillar without any drama. I just marked it and used my offset head drill. Okay, there we go. She's in. Let's take a look here and let you see what I see. So here I am driving, and so you can see that it's in easy reach. I can see all of the lights. It's facing directly toward me. It's mounted to the pillar. It's not going to go anywhere. It's out of the way of my vents, and it's got clearance behind it for airflow for the defroster. So I'm pretty darn happy with that. So this is almost the end of part one. I've got a little treat video I'm going to put on the end of this footage, because it's not big enough for a whole video, but it's something I've added to my Jeep that might be useful to you. So we'll go to that next. Okay, second Jeep modification. If you're a Jeeper and you go off-road, you'll find yourself on a side hill. And it's a scary feeling if you haven't done it before and if you don't have any experience. And one of the things that helps is to know just how far you're leaned over. So the industry makes all manner of inclinometers. Most of them have GPS and temperature and humidity and all manner of crap built into them. But I'm a simple guy. I like simple things. I don't want to run out of batteries just at the wrong time. So I bought this little thing off of Amazon. It's a few dollars. And it is basically just a BB in a little round column of water. I don't know that it's water. A little round column of orange fluid. And so it will tell you how much your Jeep is tipped over. And after a while, you'll get the feeling for your Jeep, and you'll know, yeah, 30 degrees feels weird, but it's not really tippy. 35 is beginning to be scary. It depends on, your track width and how much you've jacked it up and a whole bunch of other factors. But you'll start building up a database of how far you can go. And so the plan is to mount it right here in the middle where it's pretty visible. But as you can see, the flat part is on the wrong end. Well, if you got a 3D printer, that's absolutely no problem. So I took some measurements of this thing and made a little bracket that this thing will glue to the bracket. So the first step is to put the bracket on the Jeep, and I've got some metal screws. I'm gonna screw right into this valance. This thing weighs like 2 ounces, and this thing weighs maybe another ounce. And so I'm not really worried about a couple of metal screws coming loose. This thing is held on by one metal screw, and my phone is way heavier and has more leverage, so it's not really a problem. So I'm going to put this here, and so the thing I'm going to do right now is to measure for where it goes and mark some holes and drill them. I can use my little marker again. So I want it centered, and I'm using the slot between these two air ducts as center, and then I'll just mark it and drill it. And an offset drill is very handy for situations like this. So I'm putting in a number 10 by 5/8 sheet metal screw. The body of a number 10 down on the inside of the threads is 136 thousandths. And so I'm drilling 135 thousandths, eighth of an inch. So there'll be some displacement of material that should give me a good hole. Okay, those are in the right place. Everybody's happy. If they're not, then it's a bummer. So I've got stainless steel 10 by 5/8. Whenever I can, I always use stainless, even though this is not going to be a high water area. All right, let's see if I can get these in with my little stubby. I don't know if that screwdriver is going to be long enough but short enough. We'll see. Okay, one of them started. Nope, that's not going to work. Well, I need a screwdriver that's longer than a stubby but shorter than a standard length. But nonetheless, we'll get this tight. Phillips screws will drive a little bit off angle. I may have to put a screw in my drill driver. Anyway, it's not on there yet, but you see the idea. And now this thing can go on here. Now, don't make the mistake of getting it level and then gluing it. Because right now the Jeep is tilted off about 5 degrees. So first level up your Jeep, then level up your inclinometer, and then glue it. And that way it will read correctly. Okay, yesterday I leveled out my Jeep by driving it up on the earth mound up next to my tree. And then I put this guy in here and glued it down, and it's been clamped on there for 24 hours now. And so now this thing will indicate the angle of the Jeep. That'll be handy for off-roading, and adds a little safety to off-roading on side hills, because now you know what the angle is, and you can compare it to the other angles that you've been at safely or whatever. And in general, with most any vehicle, 30 degrees is safe. Some will go up to 45. It all depends on where the center of gravity is, which depends on what the vehicle is and how much you've jacked it up, and if you've added any width to the track. But anyway, I have like $3 invested in this thing. Okay, also from my driving position, you can see the angle that the Jeep is tilted at. And with that, I will say goodbye from Idaho, and Happy New Year.
As usual, if you like or dislike my video, please select the appropriate button and let me know why. I really appreciate comments, and I will answer every one. If you're new to my videos, please select the subscribe and the notification bell to get more videos like this.